my experience, inflation has been one of the most difficult subjects for right-wingers to learn. Often, inflation is seen as a purely left-wing phenomenon due to questionable theories put out by those same right-wingers. Inflation and capitalism is not a product of left-wing economic policy, it's a product of capitalism. It's important to understand what inflation is and isn't. Inflation is not when the government prints money. It is a rise in the prices of a particular basket of commodities used for measuring inflation. Inflation is when prices increase, not when the Treasury's Bureau of Engraving and Printing prints money. The Federal Reserve does not print money. Allow me to explain. Money exists in capitalism to facilitate the exchange of goods and services. If you do 1 million of transactions, you need $1 million of money in the system to facilitate it. If you don't have enough money in the system, you have deflation and a crisis of people not having enough of a supply of money to buy commodities. If you have too much money, then you have a similar problem. It becomes difficult to collect enough money to buy commodities. Deflation. You cannot get a hold of enough money because it doesn't exist. Inflation. You can't get enough money because you need a greater amount of it. The problem with the right-wing view is because it comes from Milton Friedman's quantity theory of money. Basically, it says that inflation is when you print money, and even has the math to present this provably incorrect theory. This is how Friedman sees money. M is equal to the supply of money in the economy at any given time. V is the velocity of money, meaning how many times the average dollar is spent in a given period. P is the average price of goods and services, while Y is the total quantity of all goods and services sold during the time period in question. To put it simply, Friedman sums up his model so that only the supply of money is a variable that can change. Friedman says that Y is constant at the level associated with the natural rate of employment, while V is indirectly related to agents' demand for cash. While when people want to hold more cash, V, the rate at which they spend cash, naturally falls, and vice versa. But Friedman further specifies that V is relatively constant, so therefore the demand is for cash. It's saying that the Federal Reserve has increased the supply of money beyond the demand. It assumes that the demand remained at the original level so that the Fed printed money because it felt like it, or that it was part of some evil conspiracy to destroy America. Friedman literally uses the example of a helicopter dropping money into the economy, because that's the only way his horribly flawed model works. This model cannot explain inflation of 1973. As you recall, in retaliation for the Yom Kippur War, Arab states, Egypt and Syria attacked Israel to take back the land that had been stolen, including the Sinai Peninsula, in addition to attempting to stop the Israeli genocide of Palestinians. When Saudi Arabia declared an embargo against the U.S., which was joined later by the OPEC countries, what they did was reduce the oil supplies by 5%, leading to what today we call the 1973 energy crisis. As a result, people and businesses went out and borrowed money in order to make up for the increased cost. This increased the money supply, but according to Friedman, only printing money can cause inflation. What we see here is the inverse. Increased cost increased the money supply. Inflation is when prices go up, not when the Fed prints money. There are several other examples of this. Suffice to say, it's important to know what it is and what it isn't.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.